people about the same old game. They're running them numbers and the winners never change. The dice is loaded and the deck is stacked. The game itself will hold you back.
Now we're back, and the game is not holding back Mark Farrell at all. He was born and raised right in Arcadia, absolutely intoxicated by the sport from an early age, walked hots for Jack Van Berg, and now is building himself, and along with his wife and the family, building themselves an enviable operation, including their farm that is established in Versailles. Delighted to have Mark Farrell join us. Mark, congratulations. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year.
You know, I couldn't resist the opportunity to talk to you, and Nick Kanani was on with us after, of course, Called to Serve, won the Discovery, and then over the holiday, the terrific performance in the Broad Brush, Lojitos coming up in the stake this weekend, and really so many nice things to talk about with you, who you're just so enthusiastic and seem to be just having fun and really enjoying what you're doing around the sport. I mean, talk to us about the background and the whole journey that is being authored.
Well, it's quite a story. When I joined the hot walking school at Sandy, I don't think they have it anymore, but it was just kind of a spur of the moment decision, and then to get picked up by Jack Van Berg, and it just happened to be during the years that he had one of the greatest horses in the world at the time, Ali Sheba. He had Vilsack, who was a Hollywood turf winner, Exclusive Enough, who was in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So I really was fortunate to join an operation then, and at a very young age, I lived on the racetrack, traveled up to Golden Gate. I put in my time for several years, and Jack was a heck of a mentor for me, and there became a time where I decided that maybe the racetrack wasn't something I wanted to do long term, but once I got bitten by the bug, I knew I would return at some level, never expecting to be where I'm at today. But, I got involved with a couple of partnerships, and that wasn't real exciting to me, and then met up with an old friend I hadn't talked to in over 20 years by the name of John O'Hara. And John was an assistant to Jack Van Berg back in the day, and I was on vacation in Hawaii and Googled John and picked up the phone and said, "Hey, I want to buy some racehorses. I understand, you're doing some bloodstock work," and connected with somebody that I really could trust, which was important to me. And we kind of developed a 5-year plan of what I wanted to do, and bought some horses privately, bought Fiddler's Fleet as a 3-year-old who went on to win the Oklahoma Derby, acquired Goldsville privately at one of the Keeneland sales, and he went on to win the Excelsior at Belmont. Title Dance, she went on to win the Affectionately and the Ladies. So I was very fortunate to get some great horses early on to get me started. But, the plan changed a little bit, and I said, if I'm really going to try to make an impact here, I need to invest in young horses. And so about 3 years ago, we started acquiring our first set of yearlings and trying to build the stable, and it's taken a little bit more time, but we've been very fortunate. I've got some great people working for me.
In addition, of course, to some of the normal avenues in terms of owning and buying, and letting whether it's bloodstock people and trainers handle those parts of the business, you went ahead and invested in Kentucky and in the industry with the farm. Talk about that decision and what that has entailed, and the property and what kind of services are being offered, and what you foresee with Vinmar Farm.
Yeah, it was. I acquired the property there in Versailles during the economic downturn that was taking place. And there were some great opportunities to buy some land. And so I looked at, full-service farms, big ones, small ones, and came upon a nice piece of property in Versailles. Had some great soil, had an old tobacco barn and an old house on it. And basically, we raised most of the property in terms of took down most of the trees, the old buildings. It had some great creeks on it, and started over from scratch, basically on the back of a piece of paper saying, okay, this is what I need, this is what I want to do. The last 3 years, we've built 3 barns. Our newest 20-stall barn will be opening in the next couple of weeks. Round pins, Eurosizers, we've got a house there, all kinds of equipment. So I felt good about coming into Kentucky there, I was apprehensive about being an outsider. It can be cliquish at times when you're coming in, but people really received us well because we were there to build and establish a new project, and we put quite a bit of money into the area in terms of building, and we've established some great relationships. I hired a stellar farm manager, Brent Wilson, from Pin Oak. He started with me in June and manages the operations while I'm here in California the majority of the time. And I just can't say enough about the great team we've got out there, and I'm very proud to be a part-time Kentucky resident.
Well, and certainly you're really, in a lot of ways, the poster boy for what I can think back to a conversation with Satish Sanan and saying when things were going sideways and there was a clear collapse, more or less, in the bloodstock and in the environment. I remember having this conversation, not just with him, but I think with John Secura as well, and other people along these lines, that this was a prime opportunity for people to step in that wanted to invest in the game and wanted to get involved, and whether it was pieces of property and creating either reestablishing or creating new, or whether it was building a broodmare band and acquiring broodmares at bargain prices, that there was real opportunity. And so it's great to see somebody plan ahead, get involved, and have their plan come to fruition.
Yeah, I put the cart before the horse a little bit with the farm. I went out in February at one of the Fasig-Tipton sales to buy a few broodmares, and between what I bought there and a few privately after, I came home with a dozen broodmares, and the farm wasn't ready. So I ended up leasing a farm for a year and a half, and I've got a dozen broodmares out there right now that are getting ready to foal here in the next several months. And I had my first full crop of babies last year. I sold a couple of them in the November sale, and I've kept a few of them. So I'm really trying to keep my hands in every section of the market just to, hedge a little bit if the yearling sale gets soft, or the weanling sale, the 2-year-old and training sale. And I also sell privately a little bit too. So, I look at it as a business, but it's a lot of fun to have this kind of business and do what I'm doing. I'm very lucky, and I'm very enthusiastic about it. And we just hit our earnings for the year were something around $1.1 million. I was 25% win percentage. I had more second places than wins. We were almost 60% in the money.
Nice.
And I think I was 100 and something on the list of owners. So for me, that's a major accomplishment. I'll never get to the top of that list because, I'm doing this in a methodical fashion. But, we're having a lot of fun, and I've got some great horses right now, and it's just I'm living the dream. And and I'm here for a long time. So we're real happy.
Well, and you should be, and it's always fun and rewarding, and to me, very encouraging when people make the effort and are rewarded, and all you have to do is look at the progress of Call to Serve, who is clearly blossoming, into a serious older horse. Just turned 4, got these 2 stake wins to end the year and / begin the year, however you look at it, between the Discovery win and then this win in the Broad Brush. And considering the 1 1/8 and the way he finishes his races, it sure feels like he's a horse that is a true 1 1/8, 1 1/4 type, and fits in with the, whether it's the handicapped types, the Breeders' Cup Classic division types, Fort Larned, etc., Him Book, and those type, Mucho Macho Man. It seems like he's going to be right in that arena for 2013.
Yeah, that was a race that gave me the chills watching it here, and when he went to Nick, Nick had only had him a few weeks before his race in the Temperance Hill, and, you go back and look at that race, and you see the horrendous ride he got. No fault of the jockey, it's just it was a short field, and he got sucked into the rail and slow pace, and so Nick didn't have a lot of time to work with his horse at that point, but we knew that we needed to get this horse to have a kind of a breakout race and really show what we always thought he had, and that came in the Discovery, and where he just in hand, beat Willie Beeman and Stefanozzi and some really decent horses. Knowing though that okay, you got a 98 buyer, -3/4 Thorograph number. All right, he's a nice horse. But in order to take that next step, I need to see a little bit more. And he came back and threw out 2 just impressive works. And we knew we were sitting on a big race. I didn't feel we were sitting on the bounce at all. He had run a 98 buyer back against older horses in May at Hollywood Park.
Right.
Everybody forgets that wasn't straight 3-year-olds. That was 3 and up. And beat Blue Dawn and another Baffert trainee in Patriots Voyage. So we knew coming into this race we were sitting on go. And Joel Rosario, who's been a good friend, rode my first stakes winner and well-deserved several years ago, took the time to fly up from Florida because he really believed in this horse. That meant a lot to us. On New Year's Eve, cold, going from warm to cold, it meant a lot, and he was impressive in the post parade. Had his mindset going, and like I said, every time I watch that race, I get the chills because he did it so professionally. He got bumped sideways around the turn. He was in the 1 hole. He swung out wide and under a hand ride just exploded. Had to be caught to be pulled up. They turned him around and had to be caught again to get back to the winner's circle. He loves what he does right now. And I almost don't want to plan too far ahead because this game is full of disappointments too. But
yes, it is.
I'm trying to think of the next step here and where we should go.
Well, one of the things I said to Nick, it's certainly very evident when you look at those PPs and knowing where the Breeders' Cup is again this year, when you see a maiden break at Santa Anita, that's got to be a nice ace up the sleeve when you're thinking about the late fall, because knowing that you could come all the way home and be positioned to potentially go 1 1/4 in the Classic, not to put the cart before the horse in this case, but boy, that's what it's about. And if you talk to Ian Wilkes, because Ian had his schedule all the way from the Breeders' Cup all the way back to to the beginning of the year, so that is part of the equation. It's not as far-fetched as people might think.
Yeah, I mean, I would be lying to you if I said, I haven't sketched something out. I wouldn't be doing my job.
That's right.
But, I put a lot of trust in Nick for him to tell me, okay, this is be my next step for this. Nick, you need to tell me how the horse is doing. Are we ready, etc. And he always gives me a very honest assessment, which really has helped out. But no question. I mean, for me to even be in a consideration for a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic or any of the Grade Ones, it's just a tremendous privilege for me. And I couldn't imagine it at this point, but we just may have that horse that can bring us there.
Well, and clearly developing others and enjoying the ride, building a long-term strategy to approach the game and being rewarded, and it's great to see. For those that want to follow Mark on Twitter, it's Mark with a C, Ferrell, Ferrell. We got to get you up from 60 followers. We got to got to get you more widely appreciated, and certainly look forward to meeting you and getting a chance to talk again along the way, and we'll wish you success for 2013. Certainly you're starting off with big steps forward, and it sounds like you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's. So I'm delighted to get you on the show, Mark, and I hope it's a great year for you.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year's to everybody out there.
Mark Ferrell, and you can also visit the farm. The website for the farm is Vinmar Farm, and that's a hybrid of his wife Vinka and him, VINMAR Farm.com, and the services, and it seems like it's obviously something that's going to continue to grow, and the jacket has certainly become familiar, the sky blue, the powder bluish silks with the red iron cross and the stars on the sleeves, more and more occasions. A lot of success, it seems, a lot of momentum being built by Mark Ferrell, and what a nice way to end this morning. Let's kind of pull it all together and get you set up for today's race day. That includes the action at Gulfstream. I told you what I thought early on about the sequence, and we talked about that maiden race. I do want to give one push in that 7th race today. There is Rustler Hustler, who, of course, has been around the block a little bit, and Liz Gray has got him now, and he seems to be circling back to a good performance. And this is a mile on the grass, Joe Rocco, and 6-1 morning line, and I think that price is probably fair enough. It may, maybe 9-2, but I liked Rustler Hustler today. In that spot, I thought was a nice price. That's a good race. I'm going to quickly, I know it's late already, it's noon, and I'm going to be a little late getting the pick 4 ticket up, but I will give me half an hour, 40 minutes, because I just didn't get a chance to write anything. I was trying to put together what I hope was a show that you enjoyed. It included Howie Tesher, Tim Ham, Nick Canani, the Thursday lineup of Black, Haskin, and Eng, and then a visit with Mark Ferrell, which was terrific, a lot of fun. Great job by Casey, of course. HRRN later on the network, of course, 3 to 7. Tune in for Mike and Jude and company, and we'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Best of luck, everybody. Friday, weekend preview edition at the races when we talk to you next. Good luck today. Thanks.
Riding down the line, we think there is a soul. We don't know. That soul is hard to find. Down the road, down the road. If you're after getting the honey,
At the Races with Steve Vick on Sirius XM Radio.
Introducing the Wizards Betting Window, a new wagering product available exclusively at DRF.com. The Wizards Betting Window takes the work out of wagering by giving you easy-to-use wagering recommendations for every race on the card at top tracks around the country. Both longtime horse players and racing newcomers can benefit from using the betting window, which suggests not only win and place bets, but also exotics including exactas, trifectas, daily doubles, and dime superfectas. And what really sets this product apart is the Betting Window Final Edition. Just download the betting window while you do your handicapping in advance and then receive an update 30 to 60 minutes before the first race post time. You'll get all the latest scratches, current track and weather conditions, and late equipment changes. The Betting Window Final Edition will be delivered right to your inbox so you can receive it anywhere. So use the Wizard's best wagering strategies to help maximize your returns. Visit drf.com/WizBW to try it today. That's drf.com/WizBW for the Wizard's Betting Window.
American Turf Monthly has been nurturing racing fans along the path to becoming confident handicappers and racetrack investors every year since 1946. Each issue is jammed with expert advice on money management, proven systems and angles, and our Horses to Watch section is a steady source of long shot winners and exactas. Call 800-645-2240 or visit us at AmericanTurf.com to receive a special offer for At the Races with Steve Vick listeners. Use promo code RACES and save 30% on any book, software, or subscription order for American Turf Monthly.
What career track are you on?
University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program can prepare you for an exciting career in racing. Turn your passion into a paycheck. Nearly 90% of our students are employed in the racing industry immediately upon graduation. What career track are you on? The University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program. Enroll today and get on track for success. For scholarship opportunities and more, check out our website at ua-rtip.org.
Do you ever wonder what happens to your old friends, including the great champions that inspired unforgettable memories, and maybe even let you cash a ticket or two over the years?
Gulch is right there. Gulch emerging with the lead. Play the king. It's Gulch. Play the king. Here's the wire. And Gulch has won it.
Come visit Gulch and all the champions at Old Friends when you're in Kentucky or Saratoga. Go to oldfriendsequine.org or call us at 502-863-1775.